Have you ever had a moment that completely changed the way you see someone? A single act that turned a stressful day into something unforgettable? I never expected that finding a lost dog on a cold Tuesday evening would lead to one of the most awkward, surprising, and meaningful moments of my life. And I definitely didn't expect my boss to look at me, half crying, half laughing, and say, "What reward do you want? A kiss, maybe?" Before we get into the story, make sure to subscribe to your channel name, hit the like button, and drop a comment about a time when kindness changed your life. Your support helps us share more real, heartfelt stories like this one. Now, let me take you back to that evening. It had been one of those days, the kind where everything feels just slightly off. Emails piling up, deadlines creeping closer. My boss, Karen Mitchell, had been especially tense all week. She ran our marketing firm with precision and confidence, but lately she seemed distracted, snapping at small mistakes, sighing more than usual. I kept my head down and did my work. By 6:30 p.m., most of the office had cleared out. I grabbed my jacket and stepped into the chilly November air. The parking lot lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the pavement. That's when I heard it, a soft, desperate whimper. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but then I heard it again, a small bark, weak and frightened. I followed the sound around the side of the building, near the row of bushes by the dumpster, and there, shivering behind a stack of cardboard, was a golden retriever. He was muddy, his fur tangled with leaves, and his eyes were wide with fear. "Hey, buddy," I said softly, kneeling down. "It's okay." He didn't run. He just stared at me, tail barely wagging. I reached out slowly, letting him sniff my hand. After a few seconds, he leaned forward and pressed his head against my palm. That's when I noticed the collar. The tag glinted under the parking lot light, Bailey, and underneath the name was a phone number. I froze because I recognized it instantly. It was Karen's number, my boss. I remembered her stepping out of the office earlier that day to take a call. When she came back in, her face was pale. She had ended the day abruptly and left without saying much. Her dog had been missing. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number, even though I already knew who would answer. She picked up on the first ring. "Hello?" Her voice was tight, shaky. "Karen, it's Daniel." There was a pause. "Daniel, is everything okay? I think I found Bailey." Silence, then a sharp intake of breath. "Where are you?" she whispered. "Behind the office building. He's okay, just cold and muddy." "I'm on my way." She hung up before I could say anything else. Bailey sat beside me, leaning against my leg like he'd known me forever. I took off my jacket and wrapped it around him. He licked my hand once, gently, as if to say, "Thank you." 10 minutes later, headlights swung into the parking lot. Karen jumped out of her SUV before it was even fully parked. She ran toward us, heels clicking against the asphalt. "Bailey!" she cried. The dog sprang up, tail wagging wildly now. He bolted toward her, and she dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around him. I looked away for a moment. It felt private, personal. She buried her face in his fur and just held him. I could hear her crying. After a minute, she looked up at me. Her mascara had smudged slightly, and her hair was falling out of its neat bun. For the first time since I'd known her, she didn't look like the perfectly composed boss. She looked like someone who had almost lost family. "Daniel," she said softly, "you have no idea what this means to me." "I am just glad I found him," I replied. She stood up, still holding Bailey's collar. She walked toward me, eyes bright with gratitude and something else, relief. "I've been driving around for hours, putting up flyers, calling shelters. I thought—" Her voice broke. "I thought he was gone." "He was just hiding," I said, "probably scared." She nodded, wiping her eyes. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. "What reward do you want?" she asked, her voice teasing but emotional. "A kiss, maybe?" I nearly choked. "What?" I said, my face instantly hot. She laughed harder. I'm kidding. You should see your face." Bailey barked as if he was in on the joke. She shook her head and took a deep breath. "Seriously, Daniel, I owe you." "I don't owe you anything," I said. "He needed help, that's it." She studied me for a moment, her expression changing. "Most people would have just walked past," she said quietly. Maybe she was right. It was late. It was cold. I was tired. But something about that small, scared dog had pulled at me. "Not everyone," I said. She smiled at that.
A few days later, I was called into her office. I won't lie, I was nervous. In our workplace, being called into the boss's office could mean anything. I knocked softly. "Come in," she said. I stepped inside. Bailey was lying on a small dog bed in the corner of her office. "You brought him to work?" I asked, surprised. She smiled. "He's on probation. No more escape adventures." I laughed. She gestured for me to sit down. "I've been thinking about the other night," she began. I braced myself. "I realized something," she continued. "I've been so focused on work lately that I've forgotten what truly matters." She glanced at Bailey. "Family, loyalty, kindness." Her eyes met mine. "You reminded me of that." I didn't know what to say. "You didn't hesitate," she said. "You stayed. You comforted him. You called me immediately." "It was just the right thing to do," I replied. She nodded. "Exactly." Then she slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a letter. A promotion. My heart started pounding. "I've been watching your work for months," she said. "You're consistent. You're thoughtful. And that night just confirmed what I already suspected." I looked up at her. "We need more people in leadership who care, not just about profits, but about people." I swallowed hard. "Are you serious?" I asked. "Very." I couldn't believe it. I had come into the office expecting maybe a thank you card. Instead, I was being trusted with more responsibility. But here's the thing. The promotion wasn't the real reward. The real reward was seeing my boss change. Over the next few weeks, something shifted in the office. Karen became more patient. She started checking in with us, asking how we were doing. She even organized a volunteer day at a local animal shelter. Bailey became our unofficial office mascot, and every time I saw him wagging his tail by the front desk, I remembered that night behind the building. Kindness doesn't always come with dramatic music or applause. Sometimes it's just noticing a whimper in the dark, taking a few extra minutes, making a phone call.
You never know how far one small act will travel. For me, it strengthened a bond. It changed a workplace culture. It reminded a stressed-out boss what truly mattered. And for Bailey, it meant going home. Sometimes people joke about rewards, about getting something in return. But the truth is, the greatest reward is knowing you made someone's worst day a little better. That cold Tuesday evening could have ended differently. I could have walked to my car, turned up the radio, driven home, but I didn't. And because of that, a scared dog was reunited with his family. A boss rediscovered her heart, and I learned that even the smallest acts of kindness can echo louder than we imagine. So, the next time you hear a whimper, literal or not, pause, look around, step closer instead of walking away, because you never know whose world you might change and who might end up changing yours. If this story touched you, share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness. Let's create more moments like this, one small act at a time.